Welcome to Car Comparos. Today we'll be comparing the Renault Kwid with Mahindra's KUV100. Pricing and features. The range-topping Kwid RXT-O variant retails for 3.95 lakh on road Delhi. Car buyers having a budget of 4 to 5 lakh are puzzled whether to settle for the top-end Kwid or extend for the mid-range KUV. KUV's K4 Plus variant retails for 5.6 lakh, which is 1.6 lakh rupees more than the equivalent Kwid. KUV K4 Plus has crucial extra safety features over the Kwid, namely ABS and passenger airbag, while the Kwid RXT-O offers the extra touchscreen infotainment system. Performance and drivability. In spite of having a 400cc smaller engine than the KUV, the Kwid has similar performance to the KUV. That is because it is 400 kg lighter than the KUV, giving it 8% better power to weight ratio than the KUV. Both cars have weak low-end torque, making them a chore to drive in city traffic. However, the Kwid is much more refined than the rather hoarse-sounding KUV100. The diesel KUV is our underdog of this test. It has 51% better torque-to-weight ratio than the petrol Kwid. This makes it much easier to drive in city traffic by necessitating far lesser gear shifting on daily commutes. It also has much better mid-range punch, making life easier while overtaking heavy traffic on the highway. KUV's new diesel powertrain is Mahindra's best attempt so far, and even refinement is in line with global competitors. Fuel efficiency. The Kwid has an ARAI certified mileage of 25.2 kmpl, which is 7 kmpl more than the KUV petrol's mileage of 18.1 kmpl. The KUV diesel has an ARAI certified mileage of 25.3 kmpl. In our back-to-back tests, the Kwid was consistently 3 kmpl more efficient than the petrol KUV. However, the diesel KUV was almost 2 kmpl more efficient than the Kwid. Space and comfort. Contrary to general perception, the Kwid is actually slightly longer than the KUV, but the KUV is a much wider and taller car than the Kwid. The KUV has a higher hip point than the Kwid, resulting in better under-thigh support to the occupants than the Kwid. KUV also has excellent elbow room in the rear, which is more than adequate for 3 full-size adults. The Kwid has good legroom and knee room in the rear, but the seat is not as wide as the KUV's. Surprisingly, the Kwid has significantly more boot space of 300 liters compared to the 243-liter capacity of the KUV. Handling and ride quality. Both cars have excellent ground clearance and well-tuned suspension for coping up with the harsh reality of Indian roads. However, the Kwid's smaller tires and compact footprint means it has to work hard to isolate occupants from the underlying terrain, while the KUV deals with bad roads quite effortlessly. But then, the KUV's high center of gravity gives it immense body roll, making it a nuisance to drive around corners. Whereas the Kwid is neutral and well balanced around the turns. Kwid would have been even better if Renault hadn't commonized the slow 4.0 turns lock-to-lock steering ratio for both manual and power-steered variants. Reliability and after-sales service. Mahindra has good presence in rural areas thanks to Mahindra Tractors service network, while Renault's presence is limited to the cities. This gives Mahindra an advantage over Renault in terms of its service availability. But Mahindra's products have a track record of teething trouble, and so far their track record for product reliability has been quite inferior to that of Renault's. Both brands are still working towards getting their dealership standards up to the mark in terms of quality of service and repairs. Resale and cost of ownership. Kwid being way more efficient and better quality product than the KUV is bound to retain excellent resale value over a usage of 5 to 7 years. The Kwid works out to be 2 lakh rupees cheaper than an equivalent KUV 100, not surprising given its lower price tag, better fuel efficiency and superior value retention. Interestingly though, the diesel KUV works out to be just 70,000 rupees more expensive than the Kwid in terms of overall cost of ownership, because it makes up for its higher price tag by saving on fuel costs as well as depreciation. Which brings us to the verdict. The diesel KUV is the clear winner of this test. The way mainstream market thinks about diesel cars needs a thorough revamp in our country. Over an average ownership period of 5 to 7 years, the biggest outlay you are going to face is not going to be the fuel cost. It is going to be loss in market value of your car. This is where diesel cars beat the hell out of petrol cars. Whatever extra you might have to spend on EMI of a diesel car will be more than compensated by lower monthly expenditure on fuel and much more in the resale price you will get when you finally decide to sell your car. Which is why a KUV100, in spite of being a car from a segment above the Quids, works out to be just 70,000 rupees more expensive than the Quid. Other big advantage of a diesel is that a diesel engine's performance is more accessible. For example, the diesel KUV has 1.5 times more torque than the petrol Kwid, giving it better drivability around town as well as a potent mid-range. Petrol engines are inherently much weaker than diesels up to 4000 rpm, and thus their peak power is more of an academic metric than a practical one. In addition to that, the KUV is also more practical and better suited to Indian road conditions, which makes it a much more accomplished alternative to the Kwid.